Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Growth Show. My name is Mark. I'm your host, and today I'm talking with Tyler Watson at Watson Heat and Air over in Richmond, Kentucky. Tyler, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I know you've got a lot going on, busy, and it's really cool that you're able to set aside some time in your schedule today. Thank you. Um, so we're taking a look at the business. Looks like you guys have got a thriving, HVAC business over in Richmond. I'm curious just to hear a little bit about the story of the business. I mean, you're a young guy, right? And it sounds like you just kind of really, got into it. Uh, just got going here, kind of uh, pretty quick. So I'm just curious about the history of the business and kind of how it started and where you guys are at today.
Well, I started an HVAC trade whenever I was 17, and kind of went from there. My parents had a restaurant, and they kept complaining about how much this guy charges to work on their refrigeration and HVAC units and that kind of thing. So they kind of got me
Classic.
started getting interested in it. I knew if I went to a 4-year college, I would not make it through. So first thing I did is I went to a trade school, and I got a job in HVAC. Whenever I was 17, making like $12 an hour. I was a helper, and kind of worked my way up through it like that. And at 21, I had my master license in HVAC.
Wow.
Which is kind of hard to do because you have to have 4 years experience to even take the test. So by the time I was 21, I had my license as a master contractor, and kind of rest is history.
That is fantastic. How long ago was that, man? How old are you now?
I'm 37.
Oh, great! Wow, you look a lot younger than 37, man. That is awesome. And I talked to Jimmy Lynn, your wife, before we got on the show here. You're married, have a few kids.
Yep, married and have 2 kids. My wife was a school teacher for 12 years, and now she works in her office doing her bookkeeping and payroll.
That's fantastic. Amazing. So, I mean, at 21, had your master's license, and did you go off on your own at that point, or did you still work with some other guys for a few years to kind of?
I wrote it
How
out.
did that go?
I wrote it out as long as I could. I had a van purchased, and I had it on the weekends and nights. I would, do side jobs or whatever I had to do to survive. I worked for a commercial company, so it really wasn't an issue where, like, I was doing mostly residential for family and friends and that kind of thing. So contracting has always been in my family. My grandfather had a construction business, and I don't know, it just kind of seems like it was natural. Like there was no way I was not going to try it out and see if I can make it work.
So, man, this path that you took by going to trade school, not going to a 4-year degree, I love that. And I didn't finish college. I actually started working with a builder, when I was still in my late teens, really. And what was that like? Was it a 2-year degree, or what was the kind of college that you went to get into this when you were at 17?
It was a technical college. They have them around here locally in Kentucky. It's an 18-month program. Some classes were during the day, some classes were at night. They'd have different instructors come in from different varieties of fields, electrical backgrounds, HVAC backgrounds, and they would teach our classes, and we kind of went through it like that. It was pretty interesting because there was a lot of people that came through. I was the youngest one by far. Most of the time when I went in there, those classes, it was like everybody's looking for their second career.
Interesting.
So that was kind of fun because I still know a lot of those people too, And
that's great.
So, yeah.
And in a college like that, did they teach you? They teach you the trade, but I've always been curious. How much do they teach you kind of about the business of running this trade? And my sense is probably that they teach you a lot more in a trade school like that about the business and like how to like make this work than a 4-year college degree, where people in many cases, whatever they get, some kind of degree, and they get out of school and they don't necessarily, even doctors, they don't necessarily know how to run a clinic or whatever. How much do they focus on and like having you guys completely set up to be able to run your own business after you got out of the technical college?
None at all, actually.
Is that right?
It was all technical. It was more geared to get you situated to where you could go find a job and work for somebody else. The business aspect of it, learning that is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because I was a fix-it guy. I could work on anything. I could fix anything, but I had no clue about what it actually took to run a business, and that was the definitely the hardest learning curve I've had to come across.
Would you be willing to share what a thing or two that was challenging to learn? Just for some of our listeners that are at that earlier stage where you were at. I mean, what are a couple of pieces that took a long time to learn? Was it payroll, or was it kind of hiring or finance? I mean, what were some of the parts that were tough?
Probably the first piece that I've figured out that was very important is really having a good accountant that can work with you, and a smaller accountant that has time to where they can actually explain things to you and wrap your mind around that, because it's very important. I mean, that had to be the hardest thing to come across, was just making sure you're invoicing properly, making sure you're paying your taxes on time, making sure that you're doing everything the right way.
That's great. I'm taking a bunch of notes here. That's interesting. We've had a couple of other guests talk about that exact thing, that the first hire that they made, the most important first hire was an accountant, which is counterintuitive. I wouldn't necessarily know. I would think it would be, project manager or even a marketer or whatever. But okay, that's great advice, man. That's really helpful. How many people do you have on the team these days?
We have 15 employees now.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. And can I ask how many trucks you guys got out on the road?
We have 10 vans on the road.
Wow. That is amazing. Okay. And so you guys are in Richmond, but also Lexington. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
We basically anything central Kentucky, which is an hour and a half of our central location.
Okay. Around Richmond,
Fayette County, Lexington area.
That's great. I've spent a little time in Louisville. Grew up in Memphis, Tennessee myself.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a Southern boy too. Fantastic. And then, Tyler, what is the mix of kind of commercial and residential for you guys?
It's been back and forth. At the very beginning, I was a service technician. That's where my background was. I kind of got burnt out because we were on call all the time. And when you were on call with where I worked at, you worked every weekend. So when I started, I kind of went a different direction with doing mostly new construction, really whatever I get my hands on, because it was just me and I didn't have no helpers, no nothing. So, and it's kind of evolved from that to where now we have divisions in our company. We have a residential division that focuses on change outs, replacements, and service. And we also have a commercial division now where we work on larger projects and things of that nature.
Okay. Amazing. Something that a lot of builders are really struggling with today that I know you're, well aware of, and that you've probably dealt with, and I'm curious about your advice on how to kind of handle some of this, is finding, recruiting, and retaining a really good team, right? And so, you've got a specialized, work that you guys do with HVAC. It's something that requires a lot of, technical knowledge, and even, the trades with less technical knowledge, say remodelers or whatever. Those guys are having a hard time, finding team, because it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of work happening, and there's a lot fewer guys to do the work. How have you gone about sort of finding and retaining 15 team members full time, so that they get past that part where you're training them for, say, a year and they're not even really profitable yet, not creating profit for the company, to where now they're here, they're stable, and they're actually helping, build the business?
The main thing on that is I treat everybody like how I want to be treated.
Okay.
It's very easy to get stuck in a place where you're working and you feel underappreciated and undervalued. And that was my main thing. I'd rather make less money here, but make sure our employees are happy. If they need to take a day off, I want them to feel comfortable with saying, "Hey, I just got to, I got to take my kids here, or do this or do that," and not have to lie about it. Like, hey, it's fine, like we can work around it. And that's kind of, I think that's one of the main reasons that we can retain plenty of people.
Gotcha.
Also, when we started, until about 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't offer health insurance or benefit package or anything like that. So it was hard to get some good technicians to come that was already trained, because they wanted those benefits.
I see.
But yeah, it's really just creating a good environment and treating people fairly and respecting people. Honestly, I'm 37 and there's only 2 people that work here that's older than me. everybody else, just when it comes to recruiting, what I like to do is use the people that already work for me to, to talk to candidates that they may have already worked with in the past or that they may know. And sometimes I'll do referrals for them for that. But we don't hire a lot of people straight off of, hiring ads.
Gotcha. Okay. Super interesting. And that's a great strategy that I've heard of. So, I mean, you may even incentivize your employees, say, we need some more guys over in this area right here. Do you know some people, friends or colleagues or whatever, that can come in here, and they've already got a relationship with them, and then they come in, they've got this kind of friendship thing already. You guys have already got some kind of culture built because of that. And sound like that's been really helpful. I've always wondered if that, can cause some problems, right? If, a couple of people get upset or whatever, you're losing 2 or 3 people at a time somehow. But from what I've heard, I mean, that doesn't really come up, and you guys are treating people great. So ultimately that's a benefit to have to do recruiting from within and basically from the kind of circle that your employees already have.
Yep. Yes, for sure. And, my goal is to eventually have people wanting to come work for us. I want people to want to leave other companies to come work for us because they've heard good things about our company. And I want to be very selective, like I'm not just gonna let everybody come in here. There's going to be somebody that has to be the right fit. And I think that's very important to building a team.
That's great.
Bodies do not help you if they're not the right people.
Man, that's amazing, Tyler. I mean, I can tell that, got all these notes here, right? I can tell that you're just, I don't know, very thoughtful and put a lot of time into figuring this all out. And I just love to hear the story here. I mean, amazing. You started when you're 17, it started because your folks needed the HVAC, spending too much money HVAC at the restaurant, right? And you're thinking, man, I could do that cheaper than that.
Right.
Do you still run HVAC for your parents' restaurant?
They actually sold it like 2 years ago. So gotcha. I'm kind of glad they got rid of that place because it was an old building and they were always calling me up there. Too many
service calls with mom and dad. You can't really turn it down, especially when you're the pro, huh?
Right. But I always got free food when I went. So that was
Gotcha. Fantastic. Well, what does growth look like for you guys in the future? I mean, you've got 15 employees now. I mean, are you looking to expand here over the next few years? We talked to some contractors that are kind of in growth mode. They're growing 10, 20% a year. Other ones that, definitely talk to here on the show that say, no, we're, sometimes like our, multi-generation business. We don't want to, things are stable exactly where they're at and we're happy with where they are. We don't really want to grow. Which category do you guys fit in? You're still kind of in growth mode?
I mean, I've never found the perfect balance yet. So I don't know that there is one.
Okay.
You're definitely going to be just as profitable with fewer employees as you can with more.
Interesting.
You can make more money with more employees, but that means you have to have more jobs, more customers, spend more money on marketing, capture the leads that come in. So if you are going to grow, you have to have the processes in place to make sure you don't let nothing fall through the cracks, basically. You can't afford to.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right now, our commercial division is really blowing up. Like, it's insane how much it's growing. I'm trying to get our residential service replacements kind of on the same trend, and it has been going up every year, but it's a slow go because we're not a heavy populated community. We're not like in the middle of a big city that has millions of people. So It's a steady grow, and trying to get into other markets is pretty important. So
interesting. You think you guys may expand in some other markets, like actually geographically, or?
Yeah, we have an office in Lexington too.
Okay.
Which is in our area the most populated. So that's kind of, we're trying to go up, towards the north a little bit.
All right, great. Well, fantastic. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time today and being with us here and teaching us some great stuff, taking a ton of notes. I'm gonna look through these, and it's just great to talk with just really smart people who run a great business. Yeah, I know you're really busy and got your family and stuff, so thank you for taking the time. If folks are looking for a great HVAC company in whether it's commercial or residential in the Lexington or Richmond, Kentucky area, what are a couple of good ways to get in touch with you guys?
To get them to choose us?
To get them to get in touch with you guys.
Oh, yeah, just we have our website. And we have online appointment scheduling. We have a free estimate building tool that you can get on there if you don't want to talk to somebody in person. That kind of gives you a rough idea of what your system may cost if you needed a new one, call or text or whatever.
Okay. It's a great website. So that's watsonhvac.com. So WATSON, Watsons, actually, like plural. So Watson, WATSONSHVAC.com. So yeah, guys, if you're in the, if listeners are in the Richmond, Lexington area in Kentucky and looking for a great HVAC company to work with, get in touch with Watson's HVAC. And Tyler, we really wish you the best with the business. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yep. Thank you for having us, man.
All right. Take care.